Well, some area teens are learning some very unique lessons. The West Monroe-West Ouachita Chamber and Ouachita Parish School Board are holding an entrepreneur academy. Jasmine Bingham has the story.
I wanted to help people tell their own story.
The West Monroe and West Ouachita Chamber of Commerce offers the Entrepreneur Academy each year to show teens how to develop a small business. Today, they discuss legal issues, permitting, and how to get started.
How you start a business, both from the moment of conception all the way through getting a business permit, figuring out financing, figuring out the legalities, and maybe even where you want to physically locate the business. So they compete in teams that we put them in mathematically based on personality assessment. So they're in a very diverse group. And then they're competing Shark Tank style at the end of the week. So this is an idea to just incubate that dream that comes to life, but more give them the idea that everything is possible. How do you go about making it a reality?
A local teen, Abigail Neely, says she launched her small business after being a part of the academy. Abigail says her small business, The Tune Factory, creates soundtracks for video games and is online through Facebook and Instagram.
So I was part of the Entrepreneurship Academy of West Monroe, and it helped me so much. They taught me how to do finances and online business, in-person business, whatever I wanted, and it helped me make a lot of connections in the area. I always had a love for video games and the soundtracks within them. I always thought they had so much emotion and they helped tell a story, and I wanted to help people tell their own story.
The academy will continue all week in West Monroe. For more information, visit westmonroechamber.org/FEA. In West Monroe, Jasmine Bingham, KNOE 8 News.